Inside the Browns' locker room, the signs of discontent are impossible to miss. Silent stares, sideline frustrations, cryptic social media posts, all pointing to a fracture beneath the surface. This isn't just a losing streak, it's a leadership void. Stefanski's approach, especially his handling of Sanders, has shaken trust from the inside out. Players are questioning decisions. Veterans are uneasy. And younger guys like Sanders are caught in a developmental limbo that could cost them critical growth. All while the fanbase watches the dysfunction unfold in real time.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Mike Vrabel, these fractures aren't hypothetical anymore. They're visible and they're bleeding into every part of Cleveland's game. As Vrabel's public criticism pours fuel on the fire, it's clear that this is about more than wins and losses. It's about identity, direction, and the sinking feeling that no one steering the ship knows where it's headed. And with every week Sanders stays sidelined, the future feels less like a rebuild and more like a mist. Mike Vrabel didn't mince words. On live television with the cameras rolling and the football world watching, he called Kevin Stefanski a gimmick coach. No subtlety. No sugarcoating. Just a direct hit to the chest of a coach already under fire from his own locker room, fan base, and an increasingly impatient media landscape. It wasn't just a soundbite, it was a detonation. That one phrase did what weeks of bad press couldn't. It forced the conversation to change. Because when a respected former head coach like Vrabel steps out of line to take a public swipe at another coach, it's not just personal, it's professional. It's a signal that what's happening in Cleveland is no longer being viewed as just another bad season. It's being seen as negligence. And at the center of it all is the decision that started the unraveling, benching Sanders. Sanders isn't just a backup. He's not a developmental long shot or a future project. He's a clear and present spark, one of the most visibly talented quarterbacks on the roster. When he's given even a sliver of opportunity, the offense breathes differently. The energy shifts. The team responds. But somehow, Kevin Stefanski has seen enough to decide, that's not the guy. Instead, the Browns are rolling with Dillon Gabriel, a rookie with less experience, less poise under pressure, and an inability to extend plays once the script runs dry. And that's the key phrase, once the script runs dry. Because that's exactly what Vrabel was calling out when he said, gimmick coach. It's not just about starting the wrong guy. It's about the entire offensive philosophy. Stefanski builds his game plans around pre-scripted drives, and when those drives don't immediately produce results, or worse, when defenses adjust after the first quarter, everything stalls. There's no improvisation. No ability to pivot. Just rinse, repeat, collapse. And this isn't some isolated critique. The numbers back it up. The Browns' offense routinely shows flashes in the first few drives, then disappears for the remainder of the game. The play calling becomes predictable. The quarterback struggles increase. And the fans start asking the same question every week. Why is Sanders still on the bench? There has been no transparent answer. No real explanation. Stefanski hides behind coach speak, offering vague references to development and game planning, while actively suppressing a player who could change the season's trajectory. And that's not just a mistake, it's organizational sabotage. The issue has gone beyond just football logic. At this point, it's about pride. A refusal to adapt. Stefanski seems more committed to defending a failing strategy than putting his team in the best position to win. And when that becomes obvious to the locker room, things fall apart fast. And make no mistake, the locker room knows what's happening. Player body language has shifted. The sideline energy is flat. There's frustration after 3 and outs, confusion during play calls, and a growing sense that the players don't believe in the direction anymore. That's not speculation, that's what we're seeing week after week. This team is fractured not because of talent but because of leadership. And that's where this starts to affect more than just one season. If this continues, you don't just lose games. You lose trust. You lose developmental time. You lose the core pieces of a team that had real potential just a few months ago. That's the cost of Stefanski's stubbornness. Sanders' benching is doing more than keeping a promising quarterback off the field, it's draining morale. Every snap he doesn't take is a message. Talent doesn't matter here. Performance doesn't matter here. It's about control. And when a locker room starts believing that, it doesn't matter what scheme you run. The team won't follow. Vrabel saw this unfolding in real time. He didn't need to be in the building to recognize a coaching staff that's lost the plot. And in calling Stefanski out publicly, he did more than just speak his mind. He gave voice to what a lot of people around the league have been thinking but haven't said. That this isn't just a cold streak. It's a coaching crisis. Meanwhile, the fan base is in open revolt. And who can blame them? Browns fans have stuck through every form of dysfunction over the years. Quarterback busts, coaching disasters, draft day meltdowns. But this one stings differently. Because this one feels deliberate. It's one thing to lose. It's another to lose while willfully ignoring the one player who gives your team life. And fans see right through it. There's no mystery. Sanders shows command when he plays. He sparks drives. He moves the chains. He rallies teammates. And yet he remains benched while the offense sputters through the same tired game plan that failed last week and the week before that. What's the excuse? Is he not learning fast enough? Is he not ready? Or is the staff just too afraid to admit that they've backed the wrong guy for weeks? The coaching staff can't hide behind development anymore. This isn't development. This is damage. Sanders is missing valuable reps in critical weeks, during a time when he could be building chemistry, reading live defenses, and learning through experience. Instead, he's watching from the sidelines as the season, and maybe his rookie year, gets flushed. And what does this say to the rest of the league? Cleveland finally has a promising quarterback on the roster, and they're treating him like a liability. That sends a message, not just to current players but to future free agents, and draft prospects. The message is clear. Cleveland doesn't reward talent. Cleveland doesn't trust its own players. And Cleveland doesn't admit when it's wrong. That's how you lose the locker room. That's how you destroy culture. And that's exactly what we're watching unfold right now. There's still time to fix it. But only if Stefanski, and by extension the front office, finally listens. The solution is obvious. Start Sanders. Build the offense around his skill set. Give the team a chance to rally behind someone who actually gives them a fighting shot. Or continue down this path. Keep trotting out the same gimmick scheme. Keep Gabriel under center. Keep explaining away losses with vague post-game quotes while the team drifts deeper into the abyss. The longer this goes on, the louder the calls for change will get. Not just at quarterback but at head coach. Because this situation isn't tenable. You can't have this much internal pressure, external criticism, and visible failure on the field without something breaking. And when it does, it won't be pretty. So where do the Browns go from here? That depends on who's really in charge. Because if leadership is still clinging to the idea that this is fixable without Sanders, without accountability, without real change, then this season's already over. Let me know what you think. Has Stefanski completely lost the locker room? Should Sanders have been starting from the beginning? Is there any way to salvage this season without a full reset? Like the video if you've had enough of watching young talent get wasted. Share it with every Browns fan who's been screaming about this for weeks. And subscribe for more breakdowns of the NFL's wildest meltdowns, because if the Browns don't turn this around soon, this might just go down as one of the worst self-inflicted disasters we've seen in years. Kevin Stefanski is coaching like he's trying to prove a theory, not win football games. And by now, even the most patient Browns fans, the ones who stuck through 0-16, the ones who kept showing up when it felt pointless, are out of patience. This isn't just stubbornness. It's strategic sabotage. The kind of slow, painful unraveling that doesn't come from bad luck or a rough injury report. It comes from a refusal to see what's right in front of you. Sanders is the guy. And every minute he's not on that field is a minute wasted not just for him but for the future of the entire franchise. Let's not sugarcoat what this looks like to the outside world. You've got a head coach so obsessed with proving he's in control that he's willing to tank his own offense just to stick with a plan that's already failed. And the result? The Browns are spiraling into irrelevance fast. Mike Vrabel saw it. Everyone saw it. And when he dropped that gimmick coach line live on air, he didn't just call out Stefanski's playbook. He called out the whole illusion. The illusion that this is part of some bigger master plan. That there's a method to the madness. That this chaos is all part of development. It's not. It's denial wrapped in coach speak, dressed up like a process. And here's the part that's most damning. Nobody's buying it anymore. Not the players. Not the media. Not the fans. Not even former coaches. The only people who seem to think this is sustainable are the ones wearing headsets on Sunday. Let's go back to the core of the issue, Sanders versus Gabriel. Sanders brings a command to the offense that you can't coach. It's visible. Tangible. When he's on the field, the game slows down. The team moves the ball. You get flashes of modern football, tempo, improvisation, confidence. He's not perfect, but he's progressing. He gives you a ceiling. Dylan Gabriel, on the other hand, looks like a player thrown into the fire too early. He's overwhelmed. He's inconsistent. He can't adjust once defenses take away the initial look. And the Browns? They keep sending him out there like this is preseason. This isn't preseason. This is a team with real pieces, on defense, in the run game, in the receiving core. And they're being wasted on a system that crumbles after the first quarter because the guy running it isn't ready, and the guy who is ready is being iced out. It doesn't make sense. It never has. And the longer it goes on, the less defensible it becomes. And now you have layers of dysfunction piling up. It's not just about the quarterback room, it's the whole operation. Questionable draft decisions. A refusal to adapt when the game shifts. Stale, predictable play design. No rhythm. No urgency. Just scripted openers, followed by a steep nosedive into 3-and-outs and field position losses. This isn't innovation. This is regression. And when players start losing faith in the guy calling the shots, everything else falls apart. You think guys don't talk in the locker room? You think they don't see what's happening during film sessions? You think veterans who've been around this league don't know what a sabotage job looks like? They know. And they're frustrated. We're already seeing the signs. Sideline tension. Post-game quotes that say a lot without saying anything. Social media activity that tells you all you need to know. It's all there. This locker room is running on fumes, and if nothing changes soon, it'll fully fracture. You can't build a culture around silence. You can't lead a team while ignoring the talent that's sitting 2 feet behind you. And you definitely can't win football games with a scheme that refuses to evolve. Let's not pretend this is just a young quarterback thing either. The contrast between Sanders and Gabriel is obvious. It's not one of those situations where two guys are close and the coaching staff is choosing experience. It's the opposite. Sanders has the traits, the control, the upside, and the production. Gabriel's being asked to fill shoes he's not built for, and it's showing in every possession. And that brings us back to the real question. Why stick with something that clearly isn't working? Why pretend this is about development when the development isn't happening? Why double down on dysfunction when the fix is right there on the roster? The answer? Pride. Plain and simple. Because admitting that Sanders should have been the guy all along would mean admitting that the plan was wrong. That the evaluations were off. That the staff misread the moment. And Stefanski doesn't want to wear that. Not publicly. Not to the locker room. Not to the media. But here's the thing, he's wearing it anyway. Every loss. Every stalled drive. Every interview where he avoids saying Sanders' name. It all screams the same thing. We don't know what we're doing and we're not willing to change. The Browns can't afford this kind of dysfunction right now. They're in a division that doesn't wait for anyone. Every week matters. Every drive matters. And this team is treating the season like a science experiment that no one asked for. The saddest part? This team had a window. It wasn't a big one, but it was real. They had the defense. They had weapons. They had energy. And now it's slipping away because the head coach is more focused on justifying his system than saving his season. It's a leadership crisis. Mike Vrabel speaking, and Vrabel's comment wasn't a hot take, it was a flare. A distress signal. A wake-up call that this isn't just an internal problem anymore. It's a national headline. It's a case study in what happens when ego overrides execution. If something doesn't change soon, this isn't going to end with Stefanski riding out the season. It's going to end with players checking out, fans checking out, and ownership forced to make the kind of decision that rips everything apart mid-season. There's still time. But not much. Start Shedeur Sanders. Own the mistake. Reset the offense. Give your team something to believe in again. Because if not, the only thing they'll believe is that Cleveland is once again exactly what people always said it was: talented, mismanaged, and destined to waste it all. At this point, every week that passes without Shedeur Sanders taking over as QB1 feels like an act of defiance. Not against the opposing team, but against reality itself. Kevin Stefanski is treating the Cleveland Browns like a thought experiment, not a professional football team with expectations, accountability, and a roster built to win right now. This isn't just about trusting the process anymore. This is a full-blown leadership crisis wrapped in a stubborn refusal to admit a mistake. And the mistake is glaring. Sanders should be starting. He should have been starting. And everyone knows it. The only people who seem lost in the fog are Stefanski and the few diehards still trying to convince themselves that sticking with Dylan Gabriel is anything other than a cover-up for a failed evaluation. The problem is, while the Browns waste time doubling down on a broken plan, the damage keeps piling up. It's no longer just about who's under center. It's about what the decision represents. The decision to sideline Sanders sends a message. We're not building around talent, we're protecting egos. And in the NFL, when leadership starts prioritizing optics over outcomes, everything underneath it starts to rot. You see it in the way the offense plays, tense, tight, unsure. Players going through the motions not because they don't care, but because they know what's coming. Another stalled drive. Another 3 and out. Another halftime adjustment from the opponent that the Browns won't, because that's been the theme all season. Stefanski opens games with scripted plays that work for about 2 drives. Then the illusion fades. The gimmicks don't hold. The other team adapts. And Cleveland? They keep running the same playbook, hoping for a different result. That's not strategy. That's ego in a headset. And Mike Vrabel saw right through it. His gimmick coach comment wasn't a personal jab, it was a reality check. A call-out not just to Stefanski but to the entire league saying, this isn't coaching. This is theater. And the Browns are the ones getting booed off stage. Here's the part that stings the most. This team isn't without talent. It's not 2016. This isn't a team stuck in a hopeless rebuild. The Browns have legitimate pieces, on defense, at wide receiver, in the run game. And in Shadur Sanders, they have a quarterback who can grow into a star if someone will just get out of his way and let him play. But instead of empowering their best young player, the coaching staff is boxing him in, benching him for a quarterback who's clearly in over his head. Gabriel isn't the villain here. He's the scapegoat for a system that doesn't work and a coach who won't admit that. It's a lose-lose situation for both quarterbacks. Gabriel is being set up to fail. Sanders is being set aside while he should be developing. And the longer this dynamic drags on, the harder it becomes to untangle. Because every week that Stefanski refuses to make the obvious move, he ties his job security tighter to the wrong. That's not a football problem. That's a leadership problem. What makes it worse is that no one's offering real answers. Press conferences are just reruns at this point, vague statements about progress, about game situations, about what gives us the best chance to win. But fans aren't buying it. Analysts aren't buying it. The locker room sure as hell isn't buying it. If best chance to win meant anything, Sanders would have been under center 3 losses ago. You think the players don't notice who's performing in practice? Who's making plays when it counts? You think veteran linemen and receivers can't feel the difference in tempo and confidence when Sanders steps into a drive? They know. They've known. That's why the frustration is bubbling. That's why social media's on fire after every loss. That's why Vrabel felt comfortable enough to say what no one else in coaching would, because the house is already on fire. He just pointed at the smoke. And while the Browns keep fumbling through this mess, the rest of the AFC isn't waiting around. Teams are getting better. Coaches are adapting. Quarterbacks are developing. And Cleveland? They're watching time slip away like they've got years to burn. They don't. This window isn't going to stay open. Players will get fed up. Contracts will expire. Veterans will want out. And young stars like Sanders? They'll lose faith in the franchise that was supposed to believe in them. That's how long-term damage starts. The quarterback position is sacred in the NFL. If you mismanage it, everything else falls apart. And right now, the Browns aren't just mismanaging it, they're treating it like a game of keep away. What message does that send to future draft picks? To agents? To fans who've seen this same pattern play out a dozen different ways in the last 20 years? It says, even when we finally get it right, we'll still find a way to blow it. And that's what this all comes back to. Not just the wrong guy playing, but the right guy being left to rot. The Browns don't have a quarterback problem, they have a decision-making problem. A leadership problem. A direction problem. And there's no gimmick in the world that can fix that. The solution isn't complicated. Start Sanders. Let him lead. Build the offense around his strengths. Stop running from the obvious and start leaning into it. If he struggles, fine. Let him struggle. Let him grow. Let him take hits and throw picks and learn how to read the field in real time. That's how quarterbacks become leaders. Not from film study. Not from the sideline. From playing. But if this continues, if Stefanski keeps stalling, keeps pretending like Gabriel is the long-term answer, keeps hiding behind the word process, then this isn't just about the 2025 season. It's about whether Cleveland has learned anything from the past. Because we've seen this story before. The coach who wouldn't change. The player who never got his chance. The season that slipped away before anyone admitted the mistake. And if the Browns don't course correct now, they'll just be another sequel in their own losing franchise documentary. What's it going to take? Another blowout? Another week of non-answers at the podium? A full-blown locker room rebellion? Whatever the breaking point is, it's coming. And when it does, Stefanski won't be able to hide behind the script anymore. What's most maddening about this whole situation is how predictable it's become. Every week unfolds the same way: scripted opening drive, a few flashes of competence, then the offense stalls, the defense gets overworked, and the coaching staff acts shocked, again, that their plan didn't hold up past the first quarter. And somehow, week after week, the answer is still to keep Shedeur Sanders on the sideline. It's reached the point where you don't even need to watch the game to know how it's going to go. The rhythm, or lack of it, has become muscle memory. You see Gabriel take the field and you already know the outcome. Jittery throws, panic checkdowns, a 3rd and long that leads to a punt. And then the camera cuts to Sanders on the sideline, standing there like the plot twist everyone's waiting for, but the script never. The excuse train keeps rolling. Game flow, development, continuity, all hollow phrases being thrown around to mask a simple truth: Stefanski made the wrong call and he's too deep in to admit it. But here's the thing: leadership isn't about being right all the time. It's about adjusting when you're wrong. The best coaches in the league don't stick with broken plans to save face. They rip them up mid-game if it means putting their team in a better position to win. That's what separates winners from placeholders. And right now, Cleveland's stuck with a placeholder. This isn't just about Sanders not starting, it's about what the refusal to start him symbolizes. A culture of control over creativity. A preference for predictability over potential. A coach who values being comfortable more than being correct. And it's slowly killing this team. The locker room tension, the fan revolt, the national media now openly questioning not just decisions but intentions, it's all piling up. And at the center of it is a coach who doesn't seem to realize that the hill he's defending isn't worth dying on. The Browns still have something rare: a quarterback with charisma, command, and the kind of upside franchises dream about. But potential means nothing if it's left sitting on the bench behind pride and fear. So what are we even doing here? Start the quarterback. Reset the culture. Salvage what's left before the entire season becomes one giant what could have been. Drop your thoughts below. Are you still holding out hope for a turnaround? Has Stefanski crossed the line of no return? And do you think ownership even has the nerve to step in before it's too late? Like if you've had enough of watching a coach fumble away a season. Share with someone still clinging to the idea that this is all part of the plan. And hit subscribe, because unless something changes fast, we'll be here every week chronicling how Cleveland keeps fumbling its future.